control there. All right, welcome everybody to the April 24th City of Franklin Municipal Planning Commission meeting. Appreciate everybody being here. We will start today with the minutes for our March meeting. If I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I think I had stereo motions and stereo seconds, so I think that's valid. Is there any comments, discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any, excuse me, I'm getting choked up about this. Any items on the, that are not on tonight's agenda, if you'd like to come forth and talk to the commission, we'd love to hear from you so that I can talk less. All right, I see none, then we'll move on to announcements. Catherine?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I wanted to announce that there will be the review of the Housing Commission plan done by BBC on April 29th at 5 o'clock in the boardroom. And this is your opportunity as a commission to have a discussion with the consultants regarding that housing plan.
Okay, great.
In addition, I would like to announce that Donald Anthony and Emily Hunter have become our new planning supervisors, and we're really thrilled that they beat out the national competition.
All right.
And wanted to introduce you to Amy Diaz-Barrega, who is currently acting as an interim senior planner in our department.
Welcome.
Right. All right, very good. All right, again, interaction with the audience here. Anybody in the audience that wants to bring items that are not on tonight's agenda for consideration, please come forward. All right, quiet group tonight. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We've got two consent agendas. We got initial and secondary consent, and these are items that are considered non-controversial, and we'll vote on those in one block. So we'll start with the initial consent. Ms. Peterson?
And I want to ask that number 34 be discussed.
Okay, we'll pull 34 off of consent. Anybody in the audience, staff, or commission want to pull anything else off the agenda? All right, I see none. Then right now, we're going to vote on the initial consent agenda, which is items 8 through 15, 17 through 24, 30, 35, 39, and 40, 36, 37, and 38 will be on secondary consent, so we'll move that to the next voting item. So, is there a motion for the initial consent
I think
agenda?
you,
For
I think
approval
you
as
left 34
amended.
on, which I had to had.
I'm sorry, you're right, and pulling 34 off the consent.
Move for approval as amended.
33 should be on consent as well.
33, that's right, sorry.
Should be
33 should be on consent as well.
On consent.
initial.
Oh, non-consent.
Yes, initial consent, yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
30?
All right, let's, who made that motion?
I did.
All right. All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Initial consent agenda? All right, seeing, yes?
I had a question on the renaming of the subdivision. If it has to go to BOMA for approval, does it still go to consent with there are 36 and 37 and 38 that tie into that? Will they go in together? Are we approving them, the final plats without the renaming actually being official? That's my question. On item
You're talking about-
33. Yeah, 33 is consent.
Mm-hmm.
And Lockwood Glen renaming it from Nichols Glen, or 36, 37, and 38. So, since they're going to have to go to BOMA, will that still be a valid consent,
Gotcha, all right.
a valid approval?
Staff, you guys?
Yeah, it's just a naming change, and the only reason we have to do that is because the plat's approved, and it's harder to change once the plat's approved. But going ahead and approving the subdivision, or the
The subdivision.
yeah, the subdivision and those documents, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right, thank you. All right, any other comments? All right, all in favor of the initial consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. I'm going to turn the chair over to my able chair, assistant chair, and let him take care of it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On secondary consent tonight, for members that have to recuse themselves from the initial consent, there are items number 16, items number 25 through 29, and items 36 through 38 are on secondary consent tonight. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Roger. All right, we'll start with item number 31, if I'm counting right. Ordinance to rezone 7.64 acres from low residential district R1 to agricultural district AG, where the property is located at 4114 Murfreesboro Road.
Great, thank you. This request is being made in order to bring the property, 4114 Murfreesboro Road, into a conforming use. The property currently functions as a landscape business. The use is not permitted in R1, but is allowed in AG. The landscape business was in operation on the property when the property was annexed by the city in 2008. Excuse me. The property had previously been zoned suburban estate residential by the county, but the commercial use had been permitted under a special exemption. A condition of the special exemption was that the adjacent property at 4108, just to the northwest, was required to serve as a single-family residence in addition to a nursery use. However, just prior to 2008, the residence was converted to an office, which resulted in a non-conforming use status with the county. Soon after, the property was annexed by the city of Franklin and zoned to R1. The property owner has continued to work with the local government entities to resolve the non-conforming use status. The applicant originally applied to rezone both this property and the adjacent property, but did choose to withdraw that request prior to the February 27th Planning Commission meeting. In response to neighborhood concerns, the applicant has now chosen to only request a rezoning to the commercial property and to leave the property with the single-family structure within the R1 zoning district. Should this rezoning be ultimately approved by BOMA, all aspects of the nursery business would be required to be removed from the adjacent property. Staff is recommending a favorable recommendation to BOMA.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone in the audience that is not the applicant would like to speak? Come forward, please, and state your name, where you live. Yeah, go ahead and come up to the microphone so we can hear. If you could keep your comments to around 2 minutes, I would appreciate it.
Certainly. Good evening. My name is Angela Hoover. I'm an attorney. I have been hired by Mr. and Mrs. Hawkins, who are the property owners at 4104 Murfreesboro Road, which is the property not next to the landscape business, but one down from the landscape business. Immediately next to the landscape business is the house that is also owned by the same property owner as the landscape business, and then my clients live next door. They are fairly close in proximity to, their house is fairly close to the other house in proximity to each other. My clients are against this rezoning to agriculture because the use of the property, of the landscape business is just that, it's a landscape business. It is not proper to rezone it to agriculture because there is no agricultural use going on in that business. At one time, this property was called, or the business at the property was called Classic Treescapes, and there was a nursery business going on. At this time, it is our understanding that it has been renamed to Rock Creek Landscaping LLC. There are multiple large trucks that have landscaping type equipment and mowing equipment on them. There is mowing equipment on both of the pieces of property next to my clients, and they feel that rezoning it to agriculture would be improper because it is really a commercial business at this point and has been a commercial business since it was changed to Rock Creek Landscaping LLC. My clients are very concerned about their value of their property. They have lived in Williamson County for a very long time. They've lived at that property for a very long time. They have lived harmoniously with the nursery business for several years. But it's not proper at this point to rezone that to agriculture because there's no agricultural business going on. It's a landscape business where trucks are being parked, they're being brought in. There is equipment all over both of these properties that would be used in a landscaping business, not in a nursery or agricultural type business. Just because the business does an agricultural type of business doesn't mean that the property that that business operates on ought to be rezoned to agricultural. It's still a business and it's commercial business, and if you're going to rezone it, then it ought to be rezoned to commercial and not agricultural. My clients are very concerned that their property values will decrease tremendously if next to them is a piece of property that is zoned agriculture. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, is there someone representing the applicant?
Hi, my name is Greg Gamble, representing the applicant and the owner of this property. And I provided a couple of letters to the Planning Commission regarding the history, and it has been a pleasure working with staff, working with Molly Pike, to kind of unravel the history of this property. It was through the request of a business license in around 2009, 2010, that the story of this property began to unfold. It has taken until the initiation of this request to really kind of figure out the pieces, and Amy did an excellent job outlining and giving you a short synopsis of how this property has become identified as a non-conforming use in an R1 district. And the use of this property as a landscape nursery began in the late 80s. Williamson County in suburban estates does allow for the use of a suburban estates property, or did prior to their 2013 adoption of the ordinance, to be used as a landscape nursery so long as 50% of the material was grown on the property. Today, trees are grown on the property. The majority of the material that's brought in and has been brought in since the 80s is ground cover and herbaceous plant material, daylilies, and those materials are brought in and sold. So there was some overlap as to what was grown on the property, what was sold directly at the property. Mulch is sold at the property, topsoil is sold at the property. There are some container plants that are also sold. But the use of the property has not changed. It has evolved. The market has increased some, and they've sold more plants, they sold less plants. They have deliveries of 18-wheeler trucks that come in and drop materials off. They have landscape companies that come in that purchase 14, 15, 16 plants at a time and need larger trucks to move those plant materials to a job site. But that's been consistent since this nursery started in the early 80s. There are 3 zoning classifications in the city of Franklin where a landscape nursery is an accepted use. That's general commercial, general commercial, light industrial, and agricultural. You have, I believe it's 5 landscape nurseries in the city of Franklin right now, and I believe there's 1 that's conforming. All of the others are non-conforming uses within their districts. I believe that's true. I know we researched this some time ago. It's been a minute. It's 1 or 2. This is one of those properties that does not conform to the R1 zoning. It was annexed in 2008. At that time, could it have been annexed in as general commercial, general office, agriculture? Yes. Why was it not? Because it was considered in 2008 to be in non-conforming use, and an accepted non-conforming use. There are several that it's appropriate for that non-conforming use to be on a property. Because they tore the house down, that residential exception did not exist anymore, and therefore it's an illegal non-conforming use. So my client is simply asking to allow the business to continue to operate as it has. It's changing ownership to Rock Creek Landscape. It's my understanding that the name Classic Treescape is not changing, and improvements are going to be made on the property to provide a restroom at the office. It does not exist there today. Sewer is at the bottom of the hill on the back side along the creek, not on Highway 96, but on the back side. So this applicant will connect a restroom to the City of Franklin sewer. And paved parking, handicap, accessible parking, and sidewalks will be provided to access the material. None of those things exist today. Currently, it's a gravel parking lot. Before they spend the money on doing the upgrades, they want to make sure that he has a business license and can operate, and that it's a legal conforming use. Through discussions with the planning department, agricultural seemed to be the most acceptable, that to rezone this property to general commercial or to light industrial would really not be appropriate in this setting. But to have a landscape nursery that was neighborhood friendly, neighborhood focused, and does cater to a significant percentage of residents within this area is still a neighborhood friendly, single family appropriate use in this area. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Was it,
You go.
was this property rezoned in conjunction with some other properties? And, was it just this one particular, lot?
No, this is one particular lot that they're asking to rezone. At one time, they came in with both of the lots, but because of conversation with the neighbors, decided that they would leave the lot immediately next door to the neighbors as R1 and just rezone this lot.
I'm sorry, my question should have been, was it annexed in 2008 with other properties? Why was it annexed in 2008? Was it because of another development, or?
It probably was.
I'm happy
That's
to
what I'm
answer
thinking, it
that.
probably would have been
Can you answer that
annexed with some
question?
other properties, and then it was converted to that L1, that zoning. Can you
I'm
answer
happy to
that?
answer that. The developer of Hirschborn requested a sewer access easement. And you can see this kind of jagged edge coming along the back of the properties. That's kind of the middle of the creek. That's the low point. So Hirschborn asked for a sewer line to be extended for their development. And at that time, all of the properties along Highway 96 were annexed in as a part of that sewer extension.
Okay, that was my question. So this property existed in the 1980s as a landscaping business and was operating at that time, and then we annexed it into the city?
Yes.
Okay, that's my question.
I just want to be clear on this. It was annexed into the city in 2008. The residence that was there was torn down in 2002. Is that date proper? Is it something that?
Sure, there was a residence on the property at the time. It was torn down with the exception of the garage. The garage has been converted to an office. That happened in around 2006, 2007.
So then the city brings it in. We know it's non-conforming.
Right.
So what I'm trying to figure out now is, okay, we annexed, the city
Right.
annexed. Why are letters just going out now? That was illegal then if the house was torn down in 2002. That's where I'm missing something here.
There's been quite a bit of confusion through this process as to what made it an illegal non-conforming use. And it has taken this time and this conversation back and forth with Williamson County, City of Franklin, the property owners. I don't know that I have a good answer other than that at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if it's not changed use over this time period, why is it not grandfathered in as a non-conforming use?
That's what
Okay,
that's what
wait.
it should be.
Let's
what
go
it should
back,
be. It should be.
because didn't it say in the county, 50% of the materials had to be grown on the property? Has that changed?
But that was under the county.
That's a county reg.
Yeah, that's a county
No, but I'm just
regulation.
saying, that would have made it, an acceptable use then.
Right.
But if they stopped doing that during that time, then that may have made it illegal back then for them too.
But
Well,
when the city
I know that there are
annexed it
tree,
in,
I'm sorry.
it was an
Well,
existing landscape company.
Well, I have a
Right.
question too about what is a landscape nursery? And I didn't go back and read that because I wasn't aware of this part that was going on. What is a landscape nursery under our regulations?
Maybe we're about to get a definition.
Yeah, so we didn't see an actual definition for nurseries, but I'll go look at that again, just one second. But it is listed as an agricultural use. It specifically says agricultural uses are agricultural and farming activities, including nurseries and facilities for processing and selling agricultural products grown on the premises.
Oh, it does say grown on the premises? Okay.
But it doesn't have a percentage.
It
it
has
doesn't
no
have a
But
percentage.
it does say, okay, well, does it have a definition for a nursery?
Let me check.
Or not? I didn't know to look for it.
While she's looking at that, is there any other comments?
Well, I'll just say, I have a problem. My problem with this is the fact that this property was annexed in 2008, already an illegal non-conforming use. We brought it in, here we are in 2014 saying, oh, you're doing something wrong. I have an issue with that. I can't see us doing that. That's
Yeah,
just-
this has been something that has been going back and forth in between staff and the developer for quite a while, probably several years,
Okay.
and have come to an agreement of how this should be handled. It didn't happen yesterday that we decided to do this. This has been conversation between the county, between the businesses. We've
Right.
recently talked to the neighbors. There's been a lot of conversation over a long period of time.
So I have a hard time penalizing this property
Right,
owner.
right. And how do
So
we,
that's why I,
But are they growing anything on the site for resale? Anything?
They grow trees
Yeah, true.
on the
Okay, so
site.
they still
Do they
use it.
sell them?
They do sell them. They grow trees on site and sell them. They do grow plant material in containers, and they sell the containers of the plant material.
So that satisfies, it sounds like, our
Definition.
All right, any
I
other
would
comments?
still be interested in seeing if we do have a definition of nursery.
There's not
We
one,
don't
that
have
one, and the
So that's
second.
interesting, that's very interesting.
and how do,
Because that's different from that and a landscape business. I mean, we have a landscape business that does
Yeah.
stuff to our house.
Elma?
and how do we separate this from the other non-conforming uses in the city that are grandfathered in? Are we gonna go to them and say, okay, you're non-conforming, you're gonna have to make changes to come into compliance?
I think that's only because this became an illegal, non-conforming use is why the change.
The other ones will just continue to operate until they change use.
That's right.
or owner. potentially.
We're not going pursuing all the non-conforming uses and shutting them down.
We would be in lots of trouble.
All right, any other comments? All right, seeing none, there is a motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I'm voting no.
Okay, Ms. Peterson votes no, but the ayes have it. All right, item 32, I'm sorry, 32, here's my numbers here. Resolution 2014-36 to be entitled, "A Resolution Approving a Development Plan Revision for the 7007 Moores Lane PUD subdivision located at 7007 Moores Lane." Staff?
Yeah, you got it. Good name, right? All right. Well, this development plan was originally considered by the Planning Commission on October 27th, 2007, and subsequently reviewed and approved by BOMA. With this revision, the applicant seeks to reduce the commercial square footage from 40,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet, reduce the assisted living square footage from 97,000 square feet to 67,000 square feet, and to add 5 attached independent living units, which would add 11,500 square feet to the overall plan. With this revision, the applicant is requesting 2 modifications of standards. The first is a request to increase the minimum permitted building length from 200 feet to 375 feet. The applicant proposes 1 building that exceeds the 200-foot length limit. The applicant has stated that the architecture shall be designed with additional detailing and facade variations on the Moores Lane facade, and that any building facade visible from the public right-of-way shall have the same level of articulation as the Moores Lane facade. Staff recognizes that the overall building length is not a single plane, as maybe we can blow up on the slide. Thank you. That the overall length, the 375 feet, is not on a single plane, but is actually spans 2 wings and a front entry, all of which face the public right-of-way. Therefore, due to the shape of the building footprint and the additional architectural detailing, staff recommends approval of this modification of standards. The second modification of standards request is to reduce the permitted finished floor elevation from 18 inches to 6 inches on the 5 independent living units. The applicant has stated that the reduction in this FFE is to accommodate ADA accessibility for each unit. Staff believes that this reduction does not compromise the integrity of the buildings and recognizes that these units would not be visible from the public right-of-way. Due to the location of the units within the PUD, staff recommends approval of this modification of standards. Also, staff's recommendation on the revision of the development plan is approval with conditions.
All right, thank you. All right, other than the applicant, anybody in the audience wants to speak to this item? All right, is there someone representing the applicant?
Hello, my name is Greg Gamble, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this application.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. We'll start with, now that we've got a proper motion, let's start with the modification of standards, number 1, and then we'll vote on the second one and then vote on the main motion. So they are asking for an increase in the building length from, what'd you say, 200 feet allowed to 375 feet?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the first modification of standard. Do I have a motion for that before we discuss?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question. The description of the length of the building, how is that measured? And
Where is that 375 feet?
when we talk about the actual, the maximum as defined by our codes is 200 feet. So that
Right.
can be linear feet in a single plane, or it can be 100 feet in 2 buildings crossing each other. Is it just kind of a total of
It's the total of the facades that face the right-of-way.
Okay.
So on this, it starts,
So it's running feet, it's not
three-sided.
projected.
Yeah.
it sort of starts at the one corner of the wing, wraps around to the front entry, and then back around.
Okay.
Does that make
It
sense?
follows the wall of the building.
Yeah. It would follow the wall of the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any ideas what that would be if you just put a plane up and measured it from end to end without the offset? Greg, you know what that might be?
I don't know off the top of my head. Sean, you going to measure it for us?
Just curious.
Substantially less.
Can you make the draw,
Yeah.
can you reduce that, please, minimize it a little bit so we can see that
Yes.
corner up there again?
Oh, to see the whole.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
It's going to be more than 100.
Yeah,
Yeah, good bit
that's what I
more.
was thinking.
All right, any other discussions on this modification standard?
Just under 200 feet.
Okay,
Just in 200.
all right. Okay, great, thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Modification number 2 was to reduce the finished floor elevation from 18 inches to 6 inches above finished grade. Any, is there a motion for this
Move for
modification?
approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, Ms. Peterson?
Yes. This brings to mind that, you know, we have been talking about the population of Franklin specifically changing in the next few years, and that there will probably be many more older adults. And, you know, if we think about our design standard, that really would not fit a lot of people who don't need to be able to have to go up steps and things like that. So it may be time to look at that other as a design standard. Now, I don't disagree with this here at all, but I'm just saying, I have thought over the years since we've had that, I've known about some a number of circumstances in the surrounding area where they did not have that, the same finished floor elevation that we
Right.
have.
Right. Any other comments?
On
Michael?
the backside of these, you've got a retaining wall there. Is it gonna stick up above finished grade so that any stormwater coming off the hill is directed around the units? Or is it gonna be allowed to, stormwater flow over the wall and then into the backyards of these units?
Yes, there's a swale, but there are also, don't you have, you've got French drains that run along the sides of those too.
That's my concern is when you lower that, you're inviting water, flash
I
flood
see
to
what
come
you
right in the
mean,
back door.
yes.
That's the only thing.
We're going to keep it 6 inches above the finished grade, so that it's one step up into the finished grade of the house. But, Sean, you want to talk a little bit about your design for the walls? I think it'd be better coming from Sean.
Okay.
Sean DeCoster, Civil Site Design Group. We've got the finished floor, or the finished grade outside of the building is 6 inches below the finished floor, and all the proposed grades slope away from the building. So that should accommodate, should alleviate any potential for flooding. We do have, we will put a swale up at the top of the wall to catch any water before it flows over the wall and divert it around the
Okay.
sides.
I didn't see that on the drawing, so it's,
Concept level at this point.
sure, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, we're voting on motion, or modification standard number 2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Back to the main motion.
And I
Any
have
discussion? Ms. Peterson?
Yes. I noticed on here that some of the, one of the soils is Delrose in the higher elevation there, and I really couldn't tell from the picture here whether that's in the part of, that's going to be the conservation or not. I just, whenever I,
That Delrose soil would be in an undisturbed area.
okay, I just couldn't tell, I couldn't tell where the Delrose was. You know, it just shows there on a little block and everything, but I'm happy to hear that it is undisturbed, because I don't guess anybody else on here would have known about this, but many, many, many years ago, on Delrose soil, kind of down Franklin Road from this, a very famous person's home did slide down the hill. So Delrose is a, you know, a red light to me, saying, please make sure that that is very carefully looked at. I guess they call it slippage now or something, but I know you do not want anything like that with these. Thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. Anything else? All right, we're back to the main motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, item number 34 that's been pulled off consent, 249 4th Avenue North, site plan, 1 commercial structure on .72 acres. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, we recommend approval with the conditions set forth on the staff report.
All right, thank you. Anyone in the audience other than the applicant want to speak to this item? All right, seeing none, is there someone representing the applicant?
Yes, I'm Gerald Busey, engineer for the project. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Peterson?
Well, this is, you know, in the floodplain and is kind of, I guess, one of our first times to look at something that's being renovated that is in the floodplain and is definitely known to have flooded. So, you know, there's some aspects of it, maybe staff would want to talk about some aspects of this that make it different from just, you know, your run-of-the-mill building.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
First, our floodplain coordinator has looked at this plan multiple times and has made some recommendations, which Mr. Busey has implemented. Those would include flood vents, I believe over 90 flood vents across the building, if I remember right. And then also raising the finished floor elevation of the building as well. The floodplain coordinator is comfortable with that and says that it does meet the standards that we have.
One thing you may not know, and, well, maybe you took your kids there, I don't know, but there's actually a step down into the building now.
I did not know that.
And there'll be 4 steps up into the building after this is done, so. We're actually gonna be 1.5 to 2 feet above the 100-year floodplain, after this is done.
So you'll frame a new floor level inside the
Right.
building?
And there'll be nothing but, there'll be no utilities basically except for drain lines underneath, so, no water lines, no
Right.
electricity, no anything like that, so.
And the requirement is a foot, right? A foot above base flood elevation for non-residential
I believe that is
property?
accurate.
For commercial, yeah,
So you're going 1.5 feet.
right.
Have you looked at using engineered vents, smart vents, as opposed to regular vents under the,
These do open automatically, I think.
do they open automatically?
Yeah, they're about $500 a piece.
Yeah,
3
93 of
$500.
them.
That ought to do the job.
Times 93, yeah.
There are multiple references in your plans to floor vents as opposed to flood vents, which is
So it's misspelled. Thanks for pointing that out.
All right, any other comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
All right. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.